How do I love an invisible God? I mean, I've had lots of school in my life. I've gone to a lot of classes, got a degree or two over the years, but I've never had a class on love. It's certainly not how love applies to a holy God that I can't see. If it's the most important thing, Jesus said loving God is preeminent, it's worth talking about how that works. So I want to share with you kind of a late add that I had to my message on Sunday. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but and develop it here a little bit. This is Season 3, Episode 9 of Unhurried. Ryan, welcome. Good to see you.
Hey, how's everything with you?
Everything's great.
Good.
Everything's great.
Awesome.
This weekend we got to hang out again.
Yes, we did.
That was kind of fun. So
I love when that happens.
Yeah, it was great. We were both at an event. One of our high school kids at church was in a play this weekend. Yeah. And you and I both ended up at the same performance.
Yes.
So that was fun to see you and your entire family, all three of your kids. It was kind of a late night for your kids.
It totally was a late night.
Yeah.
Well, it just ended up working out that way, just because the kids, have hockey on Saturdays, so we're at the rink all day. So it's just we can't get over to the.
We're 90 seconds into the podcast, and hockey has been mentioned. Just for
we're already here. We're already here.
I mean, I don't want to hear about C.S. Lewis me mentioning that too much anymore. Hockey, way more press time.
Now that you bring up C.S. Lewis, okay, I do have something to say. On Sunday, I was putting the set list together, and what you were talking about and the passages that we were in and stuff. And so I was looking around and I'm like, all right, here's a Phil Wickham song. I was like, here's another Phil Wickham song.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting the set list is coming along and I'm like, wait a minute, can I really do 3 Phil Wickham songs on Sunday?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Doug quotes C.S. Lewis almost every Sunday. Okay. I was like, full send. We're doing it. And so the first 3 songs on Sunday were all written by Phil Wickham.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. No surprise. And for the record, there was no C.S. Lewis quote.
I know.
Whatsoever.
I know.
So it's fine. You're winning that contest for sure. Or if anybody has a problem.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah, it shows up.
I'm like Taylor Swift. I'm the problem and it's me,
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Well, we want to welcome our listeners and viewers, and glad to have you guys with us. Unhurried is meant to be sort of like a sitting down, having a cup of coffee after the message on Sunday, taking a little bit deeper. I feel like there's this tendency to just run ahead, to race ahead and move on to the next week. And, we put a lot of time into a Sunday morning. Yeah. You do, putting the music together to kind of reinforce the message. I do to share things with you. And it's nice that we have this space afterwards to kind of talk about, well, how often Phil Wickham came up.
Sure.
His songs came up in the morning, or some of the things that we covered on Sunday, to live with it a little bit longer. So
for sure.
If you didn't hear the message, no worries. This podcast will stand on its own. But if you did, this will kind of take it a little bit deeper for you as well. We've been trying to give away these. Trying to give away this one hockey puck, right, because someone graciously gave us 3 of them. You have one, I have one. Yep. They're very special.
Yep.
So we want to give away, and we kind of came upon something that people can do. You want to explain it?
Yeah. So to be entered into the drawing, there's a couple options, but you can either go to a professional hockey game, mm-hmm, which is already awesome, right? Yeah. Take a picture of yourself at said game.
Yes.
Or you can come to one of my games, which I'm not saying we're professional, but we're pretty good.
Okay. Right? It's not at the same level as, let's say,
I chose my family over making it to the show.
Did you? Okay. Nice. Otherwise, we would have seen you out there,
exactly,
holding up the Stanley Cup somewhere.
Yeah, not the case. No, nobody called me.
All
I have to pay to play. They get paid to play.
There you go. Yeah, that's the difference. I know. I love it. Well, okay, so if they have a picture of you at one of your matches,
sure,
it's a game or a match?
Game.
At one of your games.
Match is so fancy.
Match is not
very
what it
English
is.
of you.
All right. So at one of your games,
yeah,
then that counts too.
That counts.
And we'll collect these, let's say, over the next couple weeks.
Sure.
Next couple of weeks, we'll collect those. Send us. You'll be under the drawing, and then we'll announce the winner.
Right.
And this is probably the coolest thing we've given away.
Oh, I think so. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I love the mug too. The mugs I use all the time. So that was one of my favorite ones too. Mm-hmm. So, but the puck, I mean, come on,
I mean, everything else has been functional.
Yeah.
Everything else, like a coffee cup, you can drink coffee out of it. A bookmark, you can, save your place. The Unhurried, tote bag, carries things.
Yeah.
Everything else had a function. The bottle opener opened bottles. This one really has no function. But it's still cool.
But it's a pretty cool story. You're like, oh, my, pastor's put his face on a puck, hockey puck.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, do you play? And they're like, no.
But I have a hockey puck on my desk holding down the papers.
Exactly.
Or, we can come up with a few uses for those.
Of course.
Yeah. So we'll announce that in the next couple of weeks. Nice. And for the record, this was one of our listeners' ideas.
Yes, it was.
To give it away this way.
Yeah.
So we listen.
Yes, we
to
do.
What you guys say.
Yeah.
Any comments, questions you have, we take seriously, and that was an idea that came up from one of our listeners. So we like
for
it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to talk about how do I love an invisible God. We're in the middle of this series in these podcasts about these difficult statements of Jesus. We're calling it stuff I wish Jesus never said. These hard statements. There's things that Jesus said that are really easy to listen to, easy to take in. Immediately, we love it. We can embrace it, and we say, that's exactly how life should go. That's exactly how I should think about it. Other things he said that just are really hard to hear, and we're addressing those things like love your enemies or never worry or sell everything you have and follow me. What do we do with those statements? And this might have been the most difficult passage so far, and maybe the most difficult one that I'm going to deal with, and that is when Jesus said, hate your father and mother. I'm going, really? I've never given a talk on hating your parents, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, really? But Jesus did say that. In Luke 14:26, he said, if anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And I think maybe a lot of us have heard that Jesus said that we need to hate mother and father, but when you look at the context of this passage, it's even more difficult than that because it's your spouse, your kids, your siblings, even your own self. So it's a difficult passage, and we wanted to live with that a little bit on Sunday morning. I pretty quickly in the message explained, or actually not that quickly, about the middle of the message, I explained that Jesus was using hyperbole, this idea that he uses these extreme exaggerations to make his point. Often this, kind of fantastic picture or this oversized picture to really reinforce the message. He loved doing that. Things like, get the log out of your own eye, or, faith that can move mountains, or cut off your hand if it causes you to sin. Jesus he doesn't want us to take those things literally. He's painting this exaggerated, oversized picture to make his point. And I also explained that he was talking about priority, that this was a matter of loving Jesus most, not and loving in comparison our family members and ourselves second, not we're supposed to hate them. But I didn't rush there because I feel like a lot of people do. Have you ever heard anybody talk about this before, or is this the first time you've ever heard anybody talk about this passage?
I've always heard the passages of honoring your father and mother. I don't think I've ever heard a message on this passage before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think understandably.
Yeah.
People would avoid this.
Avoid it.
Right?
Yeah.
This is not, so I gave Andrew, I'm pretty sure, Andrew spoke the week before, and I think I gave him this as an option. He didn't pick it.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You can have that one, Doug. That's all yours.
Yeah, this series is so cool because it piggybacks on another series that you've done the stuff that Jesus said or right. And then
it was stuff Jesus never said.
Never said. That's right. Right.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you could do your own series, which is stuff pastors should never say.
Stuff pastors should never preach on.
Yeah, exactly.
This would be one of them. You're like, no, you don't really
need to.
Do you need to go there? But
do you want to? No.
Anyway, people seem to, eat it up.
It was great.
It was, but it was maybe a little bit gutsy to go there.
Sure.
A little bit on the,
sure.
But whenever I've heard people talk about this passage, the way, pastors or messages or whatever, it feels like what they do is they quickly say, Jesus is using hyperbole here. He's talking about priority, which is true.
Right.
And what I covered too. But then they go quickly on to something else.
Right.
And I've always been left with the feeling like, well, why did he say it then?
Sure.
Or what am I supposed to do with it? And that's what I wanted to do in the message is I wanted to live with it. Jesus said it that way on purpose because he did want to give us a vivid picture and say something that we're supposed to take away from it. So why? Why did he say it that way?
Right.
And so I didn't want to rush too much in the message quickly to the idea of hyperbole and priority because I wanted us to just feel the weight of what Jesus was saying and not just brush it off, but really live with how hard that was for the original hearers to hear and why God kept it in the Bible so that we would hear it as well.
Well, and especially, I don't know if you're going to get into it, later, but especially now in our culture, it's become so popular to do like the no contact.
Yes.
Where it's like somebody offends you or like you even said in the message where there might be a habit of neglect or things with our parents that don't always line up. And but in our culture it's become so popular to do a no contact where you just cut off complete contact with your family members or
your parents,
or your siblings or whatever, and I love that you didn't shy away from that.
Yeah. That's sort of the flip side. One is this is hard because for most people you have deep love for your family members. And so this feels really counter Jesus, doesn't seem like what he would say. And there's others like you're pointing out who would take what Jesus says here and take it at face value and take it literally and say, there you go. Jesus is simply, giving me permission to, kind of write off my family.
Right.
Which is completely inconsistent from the rest of Scripture.
Yeah.
And yet, you could take, if you take this the wrong way,
right,
either by saying, yikes, I'm supposed to hate my parents, I can't do it, or yes, I get to hate my parents because Jesus said that was okay. Either way, you're taking it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So great observation. If we take time to live with this passage a little bit, as we did on Sunday, then I think it creates the tension that Jesus wanted us to feel. Like, what are you really saying here? What are we supposed to take away from it? And I said on Sunday, I said, I followed Jesus long enough in my life to know that just because he says something that doesn't set well with me immediately doesn't mean I should disregard it. In fact, over the years, what I've learned is I should lean into it because, first of all, probably there's something there that I'm missing, and secondly, there's something there that I need to hear. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of live with it a little bit on Sunday morning and not just rush past it and really bring out how hard this is, what Jesus said. I think that's why Jesus said it the way he did, is that he wanted us to wrestle with it, to realize that it's hard because he's being harsh, using harsh language. It's inconsistent with everything else. Pretty much everything else he said is inconsistent. You're saying, you've heard lots of messages on honor and caring for your parents. Why? Because that's one of the 10 Commandments. That's in the Bible from start to finish. Right. Jesus himself reinforced the importance of that commandment.
Well, even when he was talking to, in which we talked about, or you gave a message on a few weeks ago, was the parable of the young rich ruler, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Are you keeping the commandments?" And the rich ruler is like, "Yeah, I honor my mom and my family, So it's like, so it's like he had everything lined up, because that's what Jesus had been, talking about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about sell everything, Jesus mentioned the fourth commandment, honor your father and mother. So what's going on here?
Right.
He just had told the rich young ruler he needs to honor his parents, and now he's saying you need to hate them. It feels inconsistent. It is inconsistent with so much other, or I should say it feels inconsistent. When you understand it, it's not inconsistent. But if at face value, it feels inconsistent. And then, it's hard because it's impossible. If I really had to do that, I just don't know how I could. I always talk about how I'm incurably proud of my kids. There's nothing that there's nothing that could change that. My love for them is unconditional, and that's built into me by God. It's how He's designed families, and it's not gonna. I think it's impossible that wouldn't continue to be the case. So this is hard for so many reasons. But the reason I wanted to live with that is because I wanted us to have a true application to this, and not just simply go, okay, it's hyperbole, it's priority, move on. But I wanted us to say, well, how are we supposed to then put this teaching into practice? Someone told me after the message, they said, he said, appreciate the message. We're coming up on our 30th anniversary, me and my wife, and we've spent all day telling each other, I love you less. Because of the message. I love you less. Not I love you more, but I love you less.
That's good.
Because I love Jesus more. So we're trying to really push this into, how does this impact our marriages? How does this impact our relationship with our parents and our kids and the people closest to us in our lives? And I'm going to get here in a moment to what I wish I'd said, or maybe had a chance to develop further. That's what this podcast is for. And it really came out of this application part, and that is we landed in the Great Commandment in Mark 12, 30 and 31, where Jesus was asked, what's the most important commandment? You know what it is. What's the double commandment that Jesus gave to, on several occasions?
Right. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul.
Yeah. And then he always followed it up. And the second is like,
love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah. So love is critical.
Right.
Loving God and loving one another. Again, suddenly it's like, well, if I'm loving everyone, my neighbor, shouldn't I love my parents?
Right.
If a couple of weeks ago, if I'm loving my enemies, shouldn't I love those closest to me? If I love my neighbor, why should I, hate my family members? So we brought up this really emphasized the idea of priority, is that what Jesus is getting at when he talks about hate in this passage is the idea of priority. Love God first. Everything else is a second to God. The Bible regularly uses the word hate, not always, but regularly uses the word hate to mean love less. So make God your highest priority, and then a close second, right there, neck and neck with loving God, is then loving others. And then we would say that includes parents, spouses, kids, siblings, neighbors, even enemies.
Yeah.
When you play it out, all of the every other relationship in our life then becomes a close second to that. And the way I said it on Sunday was realize that when we love God first, we love others better. If we made our family our highest love, which is easy to do in our culture, easy to do, and God is a distant second or not even on the radar, it's going to ultimately take away. It's gonna affect our love for family. It's going to take away from it. It will not be all that God intended it to be. It could be good, but it's not going to be best, because that's not how God's designed it.
Right. Well, and I love that you said on Sunday too, you said that, to love God, that is not all the time, but in our life, we can't always, we don't see. It's sometimes intangible, right? And I mean, obviously we know that it can be tangible in the church community and all these other things that we've seen in our life. But if we have to put him first but we put our family first in something that is tangible, yet we have all this strife within our families, or we don't love unconditionally as we should, then it's like, well, how are we supposed to love God that we can't even see and touch?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the daily, you know? So
yeah. And I'm so glad you noticed that. I mean, that means a lot to me that you picked up on that in the message, because did you know that was a late ad?
Was it really?
A really late ad. So, and that's kind of what I was hoping to, perfect segue, because that's what I wanted to, we'll dive into deeper here. I was done with the message, and I was, felt good about it. Thought it was fine. And then I, kind of in the middle of the night, or not middle of the night, but before I was asleep, I started thinking about this and started thinking, yeah, but there it felt like there was something more that I needed to say. And that's this idea of like, well, if I just tell people love God first and love others better, I have to be honest and say, sometimes I feel like my love for others, especially my family members, that's obvious. It's easy. Not always easy, but it's natural.
Yeah.
But love for God feels sometimes like, to me, that am I doing all right on that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like a little more insecure about how I'm doing on loving God because he's unseen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, that's a good thing for me to reflect on, and I'll leave it at that.
Sure.
But I kept thinking about it over the weekend. I kept thinking about it. I kept going. And so finally, Sunday morning, I feverishly added it to my notes.
Yeah.
And it was sort of just a late ad that, you've seen my preaching notes.
Yes.
That I give to the tech team. They didn't have it because it was just like a whole extra kind of page that I added. And it was just that I kept wrestling with it, and I thought this needs to be said too. And it's the idea that my love for my family is unquestionable in my mind. My parents, my mom's still around, my dad's in heaven, but my love for my family is unquestionable. My wife, just goofy in love with her. All my, our entire relationship. Kids, it's just off the charts. Siblings, I really appreciate them and love them. So that's unquestionable. But my love for God feels less concrete. And so if I'm telling them and telling myself, you need to love God first, I feel like, well, how does that work? Especially when the standard is my family, which the love is so high. How do I do that when God feels so much, so invisible and less tangible? And that's where this passage comes to mind that you're kind of pointing out. It's 1 John 4:20 says, "For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen." And I thought that really captures it. In the middle of the night, I thought about that passage, and at first I thought, well, that's great. That's just for me. But because I kept thinking about it all weekend, I go, I'm going to have to add that.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a number of principles that develops. And while I had one page to put it in the message, I want to take a little bit longer with our podcast listeners today. And the first principle is that loving the visible feels easier than loving the invisible. And I think that's what makes us hard when we say, make God your first love. Well, that's hard because my second loves are easier to love because they're right there in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know how I'm doing immediately. Where loving God feels, it's hard. God is real, but he's unseen. And so it feels more abstract how I love God. So that's the tension I was feeling and what I wanted to bring out in the message. And then what John is saying in this passage is that loving people isn't separate from loving God. It's how it shows up. If I want to love God, I will demonstrate that by loving people. Or John, in 1 John, he actually said it the opposite way. He said, if you're not loving people, don't say you're loving God, because those two things are completely incongruent.
Right.
Our love for people will demonstrate that we love God. It's not an automatic equation just because you love people, you love God, but that's why John says it the other way. If you don't love people, we can make the equation, you're not really truly loving God.
Right. And I love the part too in your message that you said that, that even though there might be relationships that might have tension or kind of like we talked about earlier, there was like might be no contact and all those things, the love for them doesn't change. You know, like even though there might be these hard things in our life or these hard relationships with the people closest to us, the love for them doesn't change.
Yeah. Love and honor for parents is expected even when they're imperfect.
Right.
Because guess what? Every parent is.
Guess what? Mom, are you listening?
Hey, our moms are listening.
I know they are.
Yeah, so every parent is imperfect. That's the given. We do our best.
Right.
But that's interesting because it just came to mind. Jesus used hyperbole when he talked about this topic too. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how God gives us good gifts, and he says, even parents, though they are evil, know how to give good gifts. How much more will your Father who is perfect? Mm-hmm. Well, let's be honest, some parents, tragically are evil, but most parents aren't.
Right.
Universally God's built parenthood to be, these loving, safe, secure relationships, imperfect. Mm-hmm. And that's what Jesus was meaning with this. He's not saying they're evil. He's just saying compared to God, again, the same idea. Right. Compared to God, mm-hmm. There's such a big gap. Between that. But same idea. Our parents, every parent, according to Jesus, is imperfect, but we still honor and love them. Mm-hmm. And when that happens in real life, we admire it. Mm-hmm. We go, good for you. Yeah. You might need some boundaries. You might need some, care to be taken to make sure that it's not a dysfunctional relationship, but you still love and honor, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, we admire it.
Right.
And what First John is saying here in this passage, he's saying, actually, when you make that happen in those real life relationships in your life, you can see that as a way of loving God.
Yeah.
And to me, suddenly loving God becomes way more tangible. Mm-hmm. It's just that you have to see God behind those relationships. If you're just focused on the relationships themselves, then you've kind of forgotten the greatest commandment, to love God. You're all you're doing is loving your neighbor. But when you see the two connected, suddenly my love for my spouse, my love for my kids, my love for my parents, my siblings, my neighbors, my enemies, all becomes a reflection and a means for me to show that I truly love God. Yeah. So it shows up in these really ordinary things like patience with your spouse, kindness towards a difficult coworker.
I'm sitting right here.
Yeah. No, present company accepted. Not talking at all about
Doug, I'm right here.
Do you have something we need? Is there something we need to talk about?
No, nothing with you, but apparently you with me.
No, I'm just kidding. There's no not sending a secret message to you here somehow. I know how I'll address Brian. I'll bring it up on a podcast. That's what I'll do. I really have a beef with one of the people I work with. Oh, it's really horrible. Can I tell you about it?
Let me tell you about it.
Yeah, I won't mention his name.
His name is Brian Miramontes.
Yeah, Brian Miramontes. That's who it is. Yeah, that's who it is. No, I'm not trying to say anything to you. Don't worry. Don't worry. But for our listeners, maybe there's a coworker they have a hard time with. Maybe it's a extended family situation that you need to offer forgiveness. And in these ordinary real life relationships, we have the opportunity to see that as a way for us to love God. Mm-hmm. That to me is the lights on moment for mm-hmm. this, is that because I feel like loving God is so intangible, I go, God, I love you. And how can I show you? And he'll say, well, look around. The people right in front of you are the way you're going to demonstrate that you love me.
Right.
And so John is simply reinforcing Jesus' double command here. He's saying, they're inseparable. You can't say you love God if you don't love people.
Mm-hmm.
God is the source. People are the direction.
Yeah,
I think that's a really helpful way to think about it. When it comes to love, God is the source, but people are the direction.
Mm-hmm.
You want to love God? Love people.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to love people, leave God out of the equation, you're going to miss it. And I think that's what Jesus wants us to get here with this harsh language, is that we have to keep our highest priority with God first, but the avenue that we do that is with the people around us.
Right. Well, and also too, if we love people before you love God, people are broken, as we've said many, many times, and you're gonna feel sometimes that love not reciprocated back to you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Even in your closest relationships, right? Like you can love someone, yet they might not love you the same back, right? Or you might not get that back in that same percentage of love or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That affection, But with God, his affection is endless. His love for us is endless. And so if we love him first, he will be able to fill us up so that therefore we can, give that love to others.
Yeah, I think it liberates us.
Yes.
When we see God behind the people we love, then it's not contingent on them loving us back or us getting the right response. Maybe they can't. Maybe they're not in a place where they can. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they're, for all kinds of reasons, it may not be reciprocated, or we may not get the response that we expect. Guess what? If we're seeing God behind it, he gives us the response. He gives us the attaboy, way to go. You're doing exactly what I asked you to do. I love you. And your love is showing up in my love is showing up in your life. So we get it that way. And it sort of liberates us from being needy. Like, oh no, I kind of was vulnerable, expressing kindness, love, forgiveness, whatever it is towards that person. And it didn't go the way I expected it. Well, it doesn't matter. When God's the source behind it and also the object behind that love, then it doesn't matter. It liberates us. Yeah. So I really think the idea is to see God behind the people we love, and it reshapes those relationships. We love them truly for who they are, but we also know that as we're doing that, we're loving God. So it's the same principle we've talked about this before in the workplace. When you see God as the boss behind your boss, not trying to say anything to coworkers in the room, but in the workplace, if you see, that's not my boss. God is my boss, but as I honor my earthly boss, I'm really seeing God as the one behind it. And then it's not as critical that the boss responds the way you expect them to or whatever. Again, I'm not trying to say anything in our relationship. Yes. Okay. All right. And then you another principle which you already brought up. Yeah, you said it well, so I'll just touch on it really quickly. Family love alone can become selfish, controlling. It can become conditional. And so that's why the importance of seeing it not just ending with family love. Otherwise, we're going to do it imperfectly and selfishly, and it ends up, it takes away from this. Someone told me after the message, they were saying, here we go, C.S. Lewis.
Hey.
Didn't even expect this to come up, but C.S. Lewis, they mentioned, not me, but someone came up to me and go, hey, do you remember in C.S. Lewis's book, The Great Divorce, he talks about how this mother, arrives in heaven and has a hard time, really letting go of control of her son. And that was the thing that God was trying to really help her have this pure love for her son and not this controlling love for her son. And that's the idea. When our love, apart from God, is going to end up going sour. But with God, we're not going to do it perfectly, but we're going to do it better.
Mm-hmm.
We love Jesus first. We love others better.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bottom line, the final principle is you don't have to chase mystical feeling of loving God. This sort of like, well, if I really love God, I'm going to sit out on a mountaintop for days and days and days, or, just me and him. Nothing wrong with that, I guess, if that's, what you want to do. But if it's disconnected from loving people, then you're going to miss the boat.
Right.
According to the Bible, the real nuts and bolts of loving God shows up in the way we care for people, which would then include our parents, our spouses, our siblings, and our kids. And our co-workers. Yes. Yeah. A lot of love for you, Ryan. No worries. A lot of love for you.
Same. Feeling neutral.
Yeah. So not sending you any messages here whatsoever.
I'm just teasing. Well, I love too, like one of the other things that I was just thinking about is that one of the lines that one of the Doug-isms that you say that I've adopted is it just left me. Hold on. It's coming back. Is the one where you said like, my heavenly Father became an earthly one when I needed it the most.
Yes.
And that is so tangible in the sense of God loves us and will always love us, and his love for us is unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
And that love will be the love that we can then give to others. And I that's one of the sayings that you've said over the years that I've adopted, as one of my own. But I love that. I love how you can still in this life be able to have the ebbs and the flows, right, of the hardships of things and relationships and things like that. But God gives us all the tools to love the people that come in contact with us, the closest relationships or the ones that are far away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Great point. Yeah, it's the love for God shows up in these very rough, fragile, imperfect, messy situations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We tend to want it to be this dreamy kind of, idealistic, experience where I feel love for God, this mystical, I'm sort of, maybe we picture just being caught up in worship and just be feeling like we're all by ourselves. But suddenly we open our eyes and you're surrounded with people, around you in the sanctuary, let's say, and you go, oh yeah, it's not just this vertical thing. It also has this horizontal component to it. And in reality, if I'm, worshiping God with all my heart, but, kind of hating the people around me, then, something needs to change.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's good. All right. Well, so I don't think I've ever really dealt with that, and that was something that really was on my heart Sunday morning, and I didn't have a chance to really say it as fully. So thanks for listening. Thanks for our listeners for following along. We invite you to give any listener questions. We'd love to have that. If you have something you want to follow up with on what we say here or what said on Sunday morning, or life in general, maybe about hockey for that matter. We have got questions about that. Let us know.
We've gotten some musical questions over the weeks, and some hockey questions. So
if they're musical or hockey, I'm not touching them. So those are going to be right away. That's just forwarded to you. There's a very narrow slice of life that I have any expertise on at all. But anyway, so let's say 90% of the questions are going to go to Ryan, but if there's a couple that I might be able to tackle as well. So we invite you to let us know. The best way to do it is leave it on YouTube in the comments. We'll address it there, or you can send us a question at unhurriedpodcast@gmail.com, and we will address that as well. Remember, we want your photos, though.
Yes.
You can't leave photos on YouTube, so YouTube comments. So instead, what I want you to do with those photos is you can either show it to us on your phone if you see us.
Sure.
Or, and it has to be recent, right? It can't be like,
not like
3 years ago.
Yeah. No.
So it has to be, let's say, 2026.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, let's do that.
2026 time-stamped photo.
Yes.
And anytime in 2026, and if you show it to us, then you'll enter the contest. Or you can send it to us. That's an easy way to do it at unhurriedpodcast at gmail.com because we have global listeners.
Right. Yes, we do.
We have a worldwide audience. So there's some people in Switzerland and other places that may not be able to, show us a photo on their phone.
Right.
So they can send an email to us.
Yeah, you can email it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I would, if you're listening outside of California regularly, would you also let me know?
That'd be cool.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Just curious if there's listeners out there that are tuning in from outside of California. Let us know as well on the podcast, either at the email or on YouTube. That would be great. Well, I hope this has been an encouragement to you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, our enthusiastic viewers and listeners. And until next time, this has been Unhurried with me, your host, Doug Kyle. I look forward to talking soon.